now a pleasure to welcome Brien Haigley, class of 1955, who is also a founding donor of the Tulay Scholarship.
Thank you. I don't think these copious notes are going to work, so I'm going to share a couple stories with you. As you all know, Mr. Tulay arrived here in 1953. Prior to that, he was at Western Maryland College, played 4 years at football there, went on to, was selected to play in the Blue-Gray Bowl in Montgomery, or Birmingham, or Montgomery, Alabama. Montgomery, thank you. Still correcting me. And that's okay, But there's some things you have to realize. Here is a man that really enjoyed his craft. Anybody that can teach and coach for 50 years, can you imagine that happening today? I can't. But he had a very unique style. I mean, I know that, you know, if you did wrong, which is frequent, you got sort of criticism. But if you did well, you got a gentle pat, and that was all good. Let's see, I can remember 63 years ago, this month, was my first varsity game. So we're kind of contemporaries. I arrived in 54 and didn't have a lot of experience with football, but sort of made the team. And our first game was against our arch rival, Gilman. In those days, BL didn't even field an 11-man football team. They had 6-man football. I can't even tell you what that is. But I can remember distinctly, we were down at Gilman. In the first play of the game, I happened to run it. I was a wing back, and it was a 1-8 reverse. How about that for memory? And that was fairly significant. I don't think it had any impact on the game. But the next day, I opened the Sun newspaper, and there's my picture running that first play. I went, oh, this is going to be good. So I thought maybe, I didn't know what I thought. So next week we had practice. Mr. Tulay calls me in his office and he said, I want to show you something. I said, what's that? He said, here's a picture that was in the Sun paper yesterday. I went, oh, yeah, thank you. And it's funny how you remember certain things that impact your life, but that meant a lot to me at the time. The other thing is, well, I graduated in 55, and I think we did similar things. And I think Mr. Tulay, when he graduated, he went into the Army. We had a military obligation back then. We were right between Korea and Vietnam, but we had a military obligation. So I enlisted. I wasn't ready for college. And I went through 3 years, went through airborne training. Mr. Tulay, I think, did something very similar. He went in after high school and went airborne. I think he was in the 11th Airborne. So anyway, fast forward. I'm out of the service, did my obligation, and I get a lacrosse scholarship at the University of Baltimore. That's great. But what I didn't know, this is another first game. We were playing against Cornell, and after the face-off, I'm running down the field, and all of a sudden someone says, "Move, move." What? Mr. Tulay. He's got the striped shirt on. but always right there, and I'm going, wow, I didn't expect that. But that was my first game then. Then in 63 was the first game in football. You know, just life lessons, folks. I mean, you know, I always had the adage that, you know, people said, boy, you're lucky, this and that. And I say, the harder I work, the luckier I get. But I was lucky in one respect. I was lucky in two things. First, I was lucky to go here. Secondly, I was lucky to be coached by this man. He cared so much on the field and off the field to develop you. And I think because of that, I think I am what I want to be, and I hope that I am, as a St. Paul's gentleman, and I thank him for that. Thank you all for listening.